Yo, what is going on? This is DFD After Dark. DFD After Dark. Yo, I'm Marcus, the debt free dad. I'm all struggle streaming already. I just started and I ain't got stuff set up right. But yo, welcome to the channel of the debt free dad. This DFD After Dark. And I saw something that's going on in the news. I actually thought about this yesterday. I was at the office and you got like TVs in your office in the hallway. And I look up and I see this brother, Nathan Wade, testifying. And I just thought to myself, he looks so stupid. This whole thing is stupid. And I decided, you know what? I'm going to do a breakdown on this entire proceeding. Now, it's two proceedings that's going on. I'm only focusing on one. The underlying proceeding, the real issue is whether former President Trump engaged in election fraud in the state of Georgia. But that has gotten overshadowed by the tomfoolery and buffoonery that's going on with DA Fani Willis and her lead attorney that she hired essentially to lead this trial, Nathan Wade. So we definitely going to talk about it. Now, before we dive in, always a disclaimer, hey, infotainment purposes, no legal or financial advice. Want a professional, get one in your area. I'm not your professional. I'm another client's professional. Okay, that's number one. Number two, for anybody who's new to the channel, I'm gonna give a little bit of background. I could talk about this actually in depth because I have substantial experience. I've been an attorney for 14 years. Your boy old. I'm getting up there in the game, gray hairs and all. Criminal defense, prosecution, investigation, civil litigation. I kind of done it all. But when it comes to misconduct, wrongdoing, integrity, self dealing, that's kind of my area of expertise. Financial crimes, that's kind of where your boy cut his teeth at, where your boy make his money at. And hey, unfortunately or fortunately, I know a lot about being investigated for unauthorized hiring. I'll tell y'all that story. I might get to that story. Before we dive in. But it's definitely some gems and some insight. We're gonna cover this whole thing. And at the end, I want y'all to tell me if y'all think is legit or do y'all think they capping? Or y'all think they capping? They got their blue caps on as we go through this. Now, the question is, how did we get here? How did we get to the DA and the lead attorney who's supposed to be prosecuting the former president actually having a hearing related to misconduct, self-dealing, conflict of interest, all of those good things? It was so much going on. Your boy actually had to I was like, let me write down my notes because they were a little bit more detailed because I didn't want to miss anything. But let's start from the beginning. How did we get there? DA Fani Willis decided to prosecute Trump for Georgia election fraud. So she was like, yo, let's bring in the equivalent of a special prosecutor. Now, why would a DA bring in a special prosecutor? It's actually a smart ass thing to do. One of the best examples where it should have been done, but it wasn't. Let's let's rewind back to rest in peace, brother Freddie Gray in Baltimore. When the Freddie Gray situation came up, I don't know if you remember the Baltimore District Attorney Marilyn Mosby, who has since been convicted of a federal crime. Mm-mm-mm. But I don't know if you remember Marilyn Mosby after Freddie Gray's death immediately did what probably was the right thing, indicted the officers involved in that. The issue with that is she went about it the wrong way. She indicted the officers. The police department was like, if you're a DA, you got to have your law enforcement arm strong. They got to rock with you. After the officers got indicted, a lot of the folks on the police force was like, "Yo, we not doing anything. We can't even move because we scared we might get indicted, or they were just being petty, however you want to define it." But she didn't get a special prosecutor. What she should have done was, okay, Freddie Gray passed away. These officers looking mad sketch over here. Let me get another prosecutor, not from Baltimore, but from a neighboring county to come in, do the investigation. If the investigation has facts that supports going to the grand jury to indict it. but you get a special prosecutor to do those things because there's a way for you to get the job done, but you keep your hands clean. They can't say, well, you did it. You say, no, well, I wanted to be impartial. I didn't want it to look shady. So I decided to get a special prosecutor to handle it. So that's why you get a special prosecutor. If you're the DA, it's something that could be sensitive or potentially create a conflict of interest. You get someone from the neighboring county or the neighboring jurisdiction to come in, investigate, prosecute, so you can be hands off. Okay. Now, the issue here is that Nathan Wade and Fani Willis were engaged in a relationship. Well, that's not really the issue. That's a sub part of it. They were engaged in a relationship. Nathan Wade was married at the time, which I really don't think is of any consequence. Now, let's talk about the money at hand and the experience. There are three attorneys that are on the team to prosecute Trump. Two of the three are really considered experts in the subject matter that this case is related to. Can you guess who the one who isn't considered an expert is? That's right, Nathan Wade's Fani Willis, former boyfriend or whatever the hell we want to call him. Now let's talk about how the money stack up because this is where the real issue comes in. This dude, Nathan Wade, billed the state of Georgia about $750,000 for his work on this case. Now, the question is, how much did how much did co-counsel bill? Co-counsel billed about $75,000. That's a big ass discrepancy and difference. I'll tell you, I've worked on cases with co-counsel before, and the billing discrepancy should not be that large. Normally, about the same amount of time is put on the case. Now, the lead attorney may get a little bit more per hour or may get more per hour than the other persons, but it shouldn't be a deviation of, yo, for this whole case, we built 75 racks and this dude built $750,000. Okay. So, billing inconsistencies, this relationship, apparently they went on some trips to Belize and some cruises, but this all came to fruition. It kind of came into the light of the public because Michael Roman, who was a co-defendant of President Trump, he actually filed a motion with the court saying that, yo, wait a minute, something shady going on here. This dude who's leading this prosecution of us had a relationship with the DA. He's getting paid by the DA. He's getting paid substantially more than everybody else. And she's actually benefiting from it because they're going on trips and he's paying for these trips. So she's benefiting. Now I know y'all thinking like, yo, why would this make sense? That's their relationship. Well, the time frame matters. And we're going to watch some video of the testimony so we can call cap or no cap. But the time frame matters. If they had a relationship before the legal process started regarding Donald Trump, it's really, really, really problematic. They have a relationship. She says, you know what? I'm going to put my boo thing on so he can get this extra bread. And then we're going to go to Barbados on his dime with this extra bread that he getting from this case I put him on. Now, if the relationship started after the legal process occurred, still a conflict, but it kind of erases or mitigates the issue with the money and self-dealing. So a lot of the question revolves around, when did this relationship start? One party asserting it started in, I think, 2022 after the legal process started, which would mean it's not as serious of an issue. And other testimony saying it started in 2019 before all of this happened, which makes it a big ass issue. As soon as I heard it, I already knew it was problematic. I'm going to just keep it a buck with y'all. The general rule, I've been in the inspector general community. That whole community's job is to investigate fraud, waste, abuse. You have to be on the up and up. If it smells bad, it probably is bad, is the general rule. Now, one thing we got to realize is that, because I've seen a lot of people online like, oh, Trump this should get tossed out. This tomfoolery that they got going on has no impact or bearing on the facts related to Trump's trial, okay? So what may end up happening, they may end up moving the DA, Willis. They may decide to remove Wade, it may delay the trial process, but it's not going to be a you get off free card. Now, before we get to the videos, a lot of cats is talking about, well, this is just their personal relationship. Let me give y'all an example of how I seen lawyers finesse this game, and we're going to analogize it to what's alleged here, what it looks like, what people are alleging. It was a it was a chief district attorney. No, it was a district attorney who hired the wife of another district attorney to be his assistant. District Attorney A hires the wife of District Attorney B. District Attorney's wife, who's working for A, only works 20 hours a week, but they're billing the state for full-time wages. So let's say she made $50,000. She only worked half, not a full-time schedule, 20 hours a week. So she should be making $25,000, but they're billing as if she's making 40. That extra $25,000 went to District Attorney A. I know that sounds crazy when you hear it, but that's the exact same thing that's going on. Only the money at issue or the repayment at issue wasn't in the form of cash, it was in the form of trips. If the situation was her and this dude had a relationship, she said, I'm gonna hook my boo up with this job so he can bill the government $750,000. And then he says, you know what? I'm gonna slide her 10, 20, $50,000. Everybody would clearly see on his face, like, yo, you can't do that. That issue's illegal. Hey, what's going on? Appreciate everybody tuning in. Hey, Lisa, I appreciate you tuning in as well. Of course, y'all make sure y'all go check out Lisa J Stocks. Go check out her channel too. She's doing a lot of good things over there on the money side of the game. If you want to get your ends up, she's doing the opposite of what the stupid financial decisions that these people we talk about tonight made. she making good money moves over there. So y'all make sure y'all go check her out. But if this dude got this job because his girlfriend hooked him up, he made $750,000 and he gave her directly $50,000, everybody would easily see what the issue is. But here, instead of him giving her actual cash, the what's being alleged is he gave her cash compensation in the form of these free trips. So let's go ahead and check out the video. We're gonna start on the video real quick. I think it's easier to go to the video so we could chop it up and talk about what's going on. Now, this first video I actually find hilarious because I refer to this video as this is how people act when they I ain't gonna say when they doing something sketch, but when they feel the pressure on the stand. So this first one isn't really anything of consequences, but I thought the demeanor was important.
Into people's personal lives. You're confused. You think I'm on trial. These people are on trial for Trump to steal an election in 2020. I'm not on trial, no matter how hard you try to put me on trial.
All right. So, well, the only thing I got to take away from that clip is you actually kind of are on trial. Like, unequivocally, you actually are on trial because if the judge finds out that something was improper, the money game is looking crazy, you're doing shady stuff with your boyfriend, you actually could risk losing your law license. I mean, it's just a possibility. But before we dive into this story, I already told y'all my experience, how I could speak to this. And let me tell you about a time, and I don't know if I told this story before here, but the boy was looking like Fani Willis, only I didn't look sketch because I didn't do it. But I actually had a situation where I was working somewhere. I hired an attorney who was a very sharp attorney. This attorney was sharp. This attorney was a young sister. And I don't know what it is. I maybe mentioned it on this channel before, but sometimes I don't know what it is, but not all women, but women generally like just don't like each other. I don't know what it is. It was like a older woman didn't like the new young person. Now, let me tell you how this whole thing developed. We go out of town on a work trip where I'm taking like 60% of my staff. Now, on this work trip, we all congregating and meeting and connecting with similarly situated organizations. My entire delegation is like 60 to 70% minorities, women, African American, Hispanic, which isn't the norm. So when another minority is somewhere, they're going to look and see and be like, yo, why is their delegation got so many minorities? So this young attorney was interested because she was a minority. Like, man, we don't see that many organizations come through here with this many minorities. But she worked at a similar organization as the one I was at. Now, the last day of these business things, I always do the same thing. I take my team out, we'll go out for dinner, and I always pay like, okay, this one round of drinks is on me. Then after I pay for the drinks, I take my black ass and leave because once people start drinking, I don't care how nice the establishment is, people can loudly say anything. So right after I pay for that round, I'll be like, all right, I catch y'all in the morning at the airport. I get my black ass up out of there, right? So the rest of the team, they stay after they party. It was one of them restaurants where like it was a really nice restaurant, but after a certain time, it turned into a club. So fast forward, we come back, we have an attorney vacancy, and I immediately think, oh, the attorney we met, she been doing this for 6 or 7 years. She'd be great to add to the team because we don't got a trainer. She already know this stuff. So I go to, I'll just refer to her as the hater. I go to the hater, older female, and I was like, hey, what do you think about that attorney we met when we were out of town on that business trip? And she said, I think she is very smart, but I think she likes you. Now, I look like this, okay? A lot of people like, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I'm far from stupid. That was a weird ass response. Soon as she said that response, I knew the type of personality she had. So I said, okay, I'm going to remove myself completely from the hiring process. Normally, I would maybe be the second person to interview or the third person. I was like, I'm not doing that. We're going to set panel number one, panel number two, and whoever got the highest score gets the job. And so the attorney comes, interviews, and clearly she gets the highest score because she's been doing the job for 5, 6, 7, however many years. Lo and behold, I randomly get a complaint saying that, oh, there was an improper hiring relationship thing going on. And I was like, they tried to, I didn't say this now because I didn't know, but they tried to Fani Willis me. And so it was a whole big drawn out investigation where they had to talk to like me, everybody on the interview panel, the attorney. They had to talk to everybody, and the attorney didn't even do shit. Nobody did anything. Now, ultimately, it ended up just becoming nothing because it was nothing. But I know how the game go. How investigations typically work is the investigators will come talk to me because I'm the person who was alleged to have done wrongdoing. Then they'll talk to everybody else. Then, when they find inconsistencies in the story, they'll come back and talk to me with the inconsistencies they found in the story. That's like investigations 101. So the investigators talk to me, they talk to everybody else. I know they talking to everybody else because everybody else telling me. People aren't going to get investigated. They'll be like, man, what the hell is this about? So they talk to me, they talk to everybody else, they talk to the new young attorney, uh, and then they had an appointment for me to be scheduled for another interview. This is where they're going to hit me with all the stuff they found that was inconsistent in my story. And as I was getting ready to walk into the building, my phone rang and they was like, you don't even need to come in. I think we got enough. We good to go. Anytime they don't talk to you that second time, that means everything that you told them was confirmed by everybody else they talked about. But I had to go through this whole process. It was a pain in the ass. I wasn't worried about it because unlike some of the people who on these videos we gonna watch today, I was truthful. I wasn't wearing the blue cap. But let's jump into this video. First video we saw, she was being defensive. Let's take a look at video number 2 because now we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of the testimony and some of the lame ass rationale for money and cash transactions that actually had your boy laughing his ass off. We just.
Do you understand?
All right, so let's pause it right here. So the first thing at issue, right, because I want to make sure I get this sister name right. But the first thing we got to talk about, and I talked about this in the beginning, one of the important things is when did this relationship start? If this relationship started after 2001, before the legal process related to this case, Trump's case started, if it started after 2001, it's not as bad because that would mean hey, she hired this guy solely off the merits, not off of the basis of their relationship. If it started before 2001, before this process started, now you really screwed yourself because now all of the shadiness looks shady and it confirms it. So the young lady who is on this video screen that we about to see, her name is, I want to make sure I get it right, Robin Yurdy. And it's funny because Robin Yurdy is introduced as a former friend and colleague of Fani Willis. She used to work at the district attorney's office. Fani Willis, Nathan Wade, they both say this relationship started after the preceding, not before. Now, this sister gets on her video testimony, and let's hear what she has to say, which is quite interesting.
And do you understand that their relationship began in 2019 and continued until the last time you spoke with her? Yeah.
All right, let's talk about that. Now, you got Wade and Willis saying their relationship started in 2021 after Trump's legal process started. This lady, who's a random stranger, who's a former employee, saying that no, they had a relationship in 2019. Which one of y'all, which side do y'all think is telling some BS? Do y'all think that Fani Willis and Nathan Wade is lying? Or do y'all think this random lady who really doesn't have a reason to lie is actually fabricating the BS? I can't see any reason why this lady would have a need to lie. Well, it's two reasons. There's always a reason why somebody, but it would be two reasons. Reason number one, if we find out she got paid like a big ass briefcase full of money to lie, but I don't think that's plausible. The only other reason, and this is the reason attorneys always use for people lying, is I would probably want to know why she's introduced as a former friend of Fani Willis and why she no longer works at the district attorney's office. One thing that attorneys always use, well, she has a reason to lie because maybe she was fired or the friendship ended abruptly. But just on his face, I don't think this lady has any reason to lie. With the two people who are essentially on trial here, the DA and the lead attorney, they got all the reason in the world to lie. But I thought that was interesting. Now we're going to get into some interesting video because the money is a big problem. Okay, the money is, they went on trips. They had a trip to Belize, a cruise. Nathan Wade says that Fani Willis reimbursed him for every trip. So let's put this together just so we can follow it piece by piece. They have a relationship. Allegedly, this relationship occurs before anything to do with the Trump jury, before the Trump trial actually starts. She allegedly says, you know what? I'm going to hook my boyfriend up with the job as the lead attorney. He bills the government over $750,000 while the other attorneys on the case only bill about $75,000. Okay. Now, he got paid 750 racks. He takes her on these trips to Belize and cruise, and they just out there living it up. If all of those things that are being alleged are true, it's self-dealing, it's extreme misconduct. It just looks bad on his face. And she's actually directly benefiting from essentially a government contract that she gave out, a no-bid contract that she gave out. That's why it's important to note that Nathan Wade said, every time we went on a trip, she reimbursed me. All right. Now, this is where it gets funny because she reimbursed me. Okay. If me and you go on a trip and I pay for the trip, but you reimburse me, when you reimburse me, there should be some form of receipts, right? There should be some trail where you can clearly see that I paid the $10,000 for this trip, and somewhere along the lines, you reimbursed me. You gave me a check. You went to make a cash withdrawal. You got a money order. You transfer crypto. It has to be some paper trail. Well, interestingly enough, do y'all think it's a paper trail? Of course not. No one says it. They assert there's no paper trail because they say that she paid him back in cash. The argument is she paid him back in cash. So he would use this money that he got from being the lead attorney, overbilling the hell out of the government, pay for a trip. Once they paid for the trip, She said she paid him back in cash. So, what do you think the common sense question would be? If I'm an investigator, okay, if you paid him in cash and he received it in cash, I'm sure he deposited it in the bank. Did he got the deposit slip? We should be able to see the financial records and see where you made a cash withdrawal to repay him, and then he got it and he made a cash deposit, or he used that money for something else. There's no bank records because she said that she got her money as she purchased groceries from Publix. All right, I got to put the hat on for this one, okay? So she says she was raised by her father to always have cash in the house. They'll ask her how much cash, she'll give an explanation, but her rationale as to how she got the money, the cash to repay him, was every time she would purchase groceries from Publix, she would get cash back and she would just stash that money at the crib, stash her cash back money at the crib. I don't know how much they paid to go to Belize. Okay, I'm assuming they went. They probably flew first class. They probably stayed in a nice ass place. Let's say $10,000. Let's say he paid $10,000 of money he got from the 750,000 that he overbilled the government allegedly. He pays $10,000 to Belize. According to him, she always paid him back, so she would pay $5,000 for that trip. She says she got the $5,000 cash, not from a withdrawal from her bank, but from every time she went and bought groceries, she would get cash back and she would just save that money up. And she used that cash that she stashed at home to pay him. That's why there's no receipts. That gotta be the dumbest, that gotta be the dumbest excuse that I've ever heard in my life. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, this is inconsistent. This sounds a lot like BS and a lot of cap to me personally. So let's go ahead and check out the rest of these videos real quick. But that was a dumbass excuse that she made, in my personal opinion.
You said in the affidavit that you roughly share travel. So it's roughly sharing travel. You're saying she reimbursed you. She did. And where did you deposit the money she reimbursed you? Okay. She didn't give me any checks. So she paid you cash for her share of all these vacations. Mr. Schaefer, you'll step out if you do that again. Yes.
Now I don't know who Mr. Schaefer is, but I bet you Mr. Schaefer made a remark or a smirk when he heard that she paid me cash. That's what all I ain't gonna say. I'm not saying they criminals. This is all allegedly, but every criminal do transactions in cash, unless you like a modern criminal and you do it in like Bitcoin or something like that. But I'm sure that's why that gentleman smirked. That the judge said, "Yo, stop smirking, or we gonna have to kick you out of here."
And so all of the vacations that she took, she paid you cash for.
That's cap. All right. Nobody believe in that. She paid him cash for every vacation they took, and she got the cash not from a direct withdrawal, but every time she went to Publix and bought groceries, she would get a little bit of cash back. I don't know how much Publix lets you get cash back, but you know how long it'll take to get like $3,000 cash back? You gotta buy a shitload of groceries. I don't know. I think that was just a dumbass rationale, but I mean, that's the only thing that they could say. What are they gonna say? I wrote a check. Well, I need to see the checkbook. Anything else would have had a paper trail. That's just a dumbass excuse. I never heard of anybody getting cash like that. That's crazy. Let's go and finish watching the next video.
For many years, I kept
All right, so now they're asking her. He said, Wade said she paid in cash. Now they're asking her, like, okay, you paid in cash, you keep cash at the crib. Explain why you got so much money at the crib.
for many years, I have kept money in my house. Which days has probably only been $500,000. At my best days, I probably had $15,000 in my house of cash. There's going to be cash in my house, or whatever I'm laying my head. The money that you paid is for the cash in October 2022. Do not know where that money came from. I do know where it came from. It came from my sweat and tears.
It came from our sweat and tears. That's hilarious.
You know which job it came from. We come from County, or did it come from inside What are you talking about? So
Listen, that's funny. See, I swear she's about to say I'm not a lawyer. Did y'all hear that, or am I tripping? Listen to the question, and she's about to say I'm not a lawyer. I was like, you might not be after this.
well, how did they come from a franchise? What are you talking about? So it didn't come from a proper job because before I was VA, I was in private practice.
All right, so y'all let me know in the comments. But that whole story sound like cat. You keep cash one. Now you telling everybody that you keep normally between 500 and at the best times $15,000 in cash. You stay in Atlanta. I know all the Jack boys. They probably don't watch the news, but they heard that. But you mean to tell me you reimburse this dude in cash for every trip that y'all took, and then reimbursing them for cash? In reimbursing them, you got the cash not by going to your bank, but by getting cash back every time you went to the Publix grocery store. Get the out of here. That's a that's a that's cap as hell, in my personal opinion. I just can't believe that.
It's
Can't buy that.
interesting when here about this money. Mr. Wade is used to winning it.
All right, now listen to this. All right, I don't know. I guess it helps her. And okay, right now she's about to testify, and what she's about to say, it justifies why she pays Mr. Wade back in cash, which is just sounds like BS. But yeah, hey, these are all allegations, allegedly. But she's about to explain why she pays Mr. Wade back in cash and why she pays him back for this trip. Why? I don't know. Like, I just can't see them being in some type of relationship, them going on a trip, and he's like, hey, just pay me back half for every trip. Like that, I don't know. I just don't think that's a. I don't think that's a normal type of. I don't know. That's just fucking weird in my personal opinion. But let's listen to her.
It's interesting that we're here about this money. Mr. Wade is used to winning it. As he told me one time, the only thing a woman can do for him is make him a sandwich.
Why she had to say that about Mr. Wade? I'm like, damn, misogynistic is how to what? That's funny. Like this kind of like it supports why she paid him back, but it still doesn't make no sense. So you hired and continue to date this misogynistic dude. That sounds kind of weird.
We would have arguments about the fact that you're equal. I don't need anything from a man. A man is not playing. Is a companion. And so with tension always in our relationship, which is why I was give him his money back. I don't need anybody to foot my bills. The only man who's ever foot my bills completely is my daddy.
All right, now that's terrible that she actually said that, because before we get out of here, we got to talk about how that phrase led to who had to testify today. Her father. She done got up there and told all these stories about, told how she keeps money in the house and how her father essentially taught her like, yo, you always should have money in the house. And what do? They bring her father in to testify. This was actually terrible. I pull up the video because I saw him up there and I just was like, man, I felt bad that this dude had to go through this. But that makes absolutely zero sense. I can't believe that every trip y'all took, I'm gonna assume y'all took, let's say 2, 3 trips. Let's say each trip was, I don't know, let's use a nice round number. $7,000, $5,000. 3 trips, $5,000. That's some cheap ass trips for as much money as he getting paid to handle this case. But let's say they took 3 trips. Each trip was $5,000. That's $2,500. That's $7,500 that she had to pay this guy back just for these 3 trips. She got $7,500 all cash back from going to the grocery store. Like, bro, that sounds like a lie. All right. So she further says on his last video that because of his misogynistic views, allegedly, because of his misogynistic views, she always paid him back because she wanted him to know that I don't need a man to do anything for me. That's fucking weird for people who's a couple to do, though, right? Like, in my mind, this is just my logic. The only reason that you would pay this person back, if you paid him back, but the only reason you would pay this person back is you're paying him back because you know he got this big ass influx of cash from a government contract to be the lead attorney that you gave him. That's it. But for if he wouldn't have been on this, when I would like to know, I would like to know if they took any trips, and that'd be a good question. I didn't watch the entire process, but it would be a pertinent question to know what trips did y'all, when did y'all start taking trips? Did you ever take a trip before this Trump litigation started? Because if the answer is yes, I took a trip before this Trump litigation started, did you pay him back for that? She might say yeah, but I seriously doubt it. So you mean to tell me you paid him back for the trip even before this litigation started? Because that would be inconsistent. The only reason you paying him back allegedly after the litigation is because you know his income was probably 99.9% from this government contract that he got. But I just think this is a shit show all around. I think it looks extremely bad. And the question is, who's to blame for this stupidity? Because these are people who are presumably educated, so you think they would have some common sense. The one thing you do not do is do not hire the person that you are. It's just normally going to work out bad unless you like the CEO or the founder of the company. Like if you Elon Musk to Tesla, you can hire whoever you want. That's your company. It's nobody higher than you. But the only thing that she had to do, you're trying the former president of the United States. You don't think they're gonna go through your stuff with a fine tooth comb? The only thing you had to do was hire any other attorney in Georgia. You could have hired the lead attorney on YouTube. You could have hired any other attorney in Georgia to handle this case, with the exception of your boyfriend, and you hired your boyfriend. So that's just stupid as hell. The only thing stupider than that was the boyfriend who accepted it. That's why I would like to know. I would like to know the volume of cases and the type of cases that he did, the income of his firm prior to getting this job. Because I would probably go on a limb and feel fairly confident that he probably didn't make nowhere near $750,000 in a year or over a 2 year period prior to this. But even, come on, guy, Nathan Wade. Okay, if she come to you with a bad idea, you don't co-sign the bad idea. The first thing you should do is be like, "Yo, this is gonna look bad. I don't know." But he saw those dollar signs, and all because he saw dollar signs, I don't know. She may have been a little bit enamored from some of this action going on. Now, one of them is going to get thrown off of this case. Both of them are at risk of losing their livelihood, losing their law license, their ability to practice law, and I just don't think it's a good look. I think she may be in more trouble because it looks like she lied to the court. She says the relationship started in 2001 after the Trump litigation. Why would your assistant have to lie if she said it started in 2019? I don't know. I'm gonna just call cap on that. The last video is gonna be one I got to pull up because I couldn't get it in my little reel. So let me go and get this. Let me get this video queued up. But I want to show you how sad this was, and I felt bad. I felt bad that this gentleman had to go through this. But we got to take a look at it to get the whole story. All right, we're gonna pull up this MSNBC clip. Right? We're gonna pull up this MSNBC clip. Let's go ahead and get this queued up. Then we can hop on and get up out of here. Let's see. Let's stop that one. We're gonna share the screen. We're gonna put this up here. All right, this distinguished looking gentleman that we got on the screen right here is Fani Willis's father. Apparently, he's an attorney, but he was actually brought into court to testify, all because his daughter brought his name up with regard to cash. Why she had so much cash? Why was it common for her to have this cash? is there anybody who can testify that you normally keep this much cash in the house? So her father had to get on the stand all because she decided to hire the guy who, had she hired anybody else who was competent to do the damn job and probably could have paid him less, she wouldn't be in this situation, and her old ass father, respectfully, wouldn't be up there testifying. So I felt terrible, but I want y'all to watch this clip just to see the line of questioning that they asked her father.
How long did you live at or with Miss Willis and at her home here in Fulton County?
She was forced to move after she was elected. I don't know if you want me to go through the whole thing, but that, Your Honor, if Your Honor will indulge me. After she was sworn in on January 1 of 2021. And on or about the 3rd of February, at probably 5:30 a.m. in the morning, there were people outside her house cursing and yelling and calling her the B word and the N word. I mean, just.
Let's fast forward here.
Present while all of these things were occurring, but I
personally present to hear these things.
Yes.
Call the police.
No. This is not the clip I want. Let me go back to see if I can find. I know where I can find it. Give me 1 second. I know where I can find it. Let's pull it up. It wasn't that one. It was this one right here.
Good morning. Good morning, Counsel.
When your daughter moved or left the house that she owned, did she say anything to you about having a large savings of cash?
Oh, no, no. See, maybe, excuse me, and Your Honor, I'm not trying to be racist, okay?
So anytime somebody say I'm not trying to do something, I was like, he about to say something racist. But nah, but now they're questioning her father about the amount of cash, or if he had knowledge of her having large amount of cash since he lived with her for a period of time. He raised her. So this gentleman is only on the stand because she brought him up with regard to this cash, and her father was the only man. So listen to this story that he's telling, and is an interesting story. But the big takeaway from this is, man, I felt bad that this old dude had to get up here and do this shit all because she hired the guy who was, instead of hiring any other of the million attorneys in Atlanta who probably could have handled this shit.
Excuse me, and Your Honor, I'm not trying to be racist, okay? But it's a black thing, okay? You know, I was trained, and most black.
It's a black thing to keep cash in your crib. I don't know. I think, some people keep cash in the crib. I don't keep cash in the crib, but I'm not, this guy probably 74, 75.
Black folks, they hide cash or they keep cash. And I trained, you always keep some cash, because I've been places, and just because of the color of my skin, for example, I took a fellowship at Harvard when my daughter was just, if I might, Your Honor, when I was just, she was just, maybe 3 years old. And I remember going to a restaurant in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and I had a American Express credit card and maybe a Visa or whatever. And I had a lot of what they call traveler's checks. I don't even know if they still have traveler's checks, but traveler's checks. And there was a sign said, with the credit card, for whatever reasons, the man would not take my American Express credit card. So I pulled out my Visa card, and he wouldn't take my Visa card. So then I pulled out my traveler's checks. He said, we don't take checks. Now these were traveler's checks. This was money. I had a $10 bill. I'll never forget this as long as I live. And he said, the bill for my wife at the time, Fani's mother, Fani, and myself was like $9.95. And I had a $10 bill. That was all that. I always remember that. But even before that, I've always kept cash.
All right, man. We, we got in that story, man. I don't want to hear that old story about them racist ass people. But this old man is only on the stand because his daughter brought his name up with regard to how she kept up to $15,000 of cash in her home that she got when she went to Publix and bought groceries and got cash back. I done threw my hat some. To that story, I'm gonna go ahead and put this on. Now, how is this whole thing is gonna play out? I think the judge will be blind if he don't find that there's no self-dealing here. I think it's patently obvious. I personally think that she, like, hey, I think she perjured herself on the court. Unless we find some evidence that, her friend got a bribe or was disgruntled or she left that office and the friendship dissolved over something negative and it was spiteful. I think that she's screwed. She's probably going to get kicked off of this case. And I would not be shocked. I would not be shocked if if her law license is either suspended or disbarred. You have to just know better. You got to be smarter than this. You got to have enough common sense to know you're going after one of the most powerful people on the planet, and you need to have your ducks in a row. If you wanted to give the dude some cheeks, that's fine. You could have gave the dude. You could have allowed Nathan Wade to do that, gave him the job, and paid him the same amount as everybody else. But the fact that he had less experience, all of it, I mean, it just looked messy. The general rule is, hey, don't hire people unless you own the company. But that's it. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Her boyfriend Nathan Wade, I mean, he got a $750,000 bag from actually trying this case, but it's probably going to cost him his ability to practice law. This mistake, these trips to Belize, this cruise is probably going to cost her. She probably going to get pulled off of this case as she should because of a conflict, but it's probably going to cost her license for some time, if not indefinitely. I don't know. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. That's it for this video. I guess I could classify this as financial foolishness, but hell, this is just plain foolishness. DA Fani Willis. The DA might stand for dumbass because this testimony just didn't hold up to muster in my eyes. Every media outlet I saw, they had the same opinion. Anytime you get like Fox News and CNN to both agree on something, you know it gotta be you know it gotta be true. Fox News and CNN was like, this don't look too good. But yo, that's it for this video. I appreciate y'all tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, check out the video that's going to pop up on the screen. There's going to be more content related to finance and attorney reactions. Peace.